Hello, everybody, and welcome to Inspire Me Forward. We are on our 6-month anniversary. I am so thrilled that we've come this far and been able to inspire people. I feel inspired so much every time we have an episode, and my heart is so full. And this is our second panel discussion. Our first one was on death, dying, and grief, and I really felt that something said to me, we really need to balance that out. Mind you, on death, dying, and grief, it was very much on life, living, and love. So it'll be interesting to see where we go with this. And let me just stop sharing here. And let's get our panel to just introduce themselves really quickly. So Taylor, we'll start with you.
Hi, so I'm Taylor Beckett. I'm the owner of Silver Willow Farm. I'm not there right now. I actually just went through emergency aortic surgery in May. So my whole perspective right now definitely has that over it, which is it's a different place for me to be sitting from where I was a month and a half ago. But I'm really excited to be part of this today. So thank you.
Well, thank you for being here, Taylor, and taking the time from your recovery to share with us. And you're from Hamilton, near Hamilton, Canada. So
yep,
awesome. And Cal Burrow from Ireland.
Hi, Linda. Thanks so much for having me here today. Yeah, I'm Cal. I'm calling in from the west coast of Ireland, where I run an integrative therapy practice there, Seastone Sky. I'm originally from England and have made Ireland my home in the last 3 years.
Awesome. Thank you, Cal. And it's been so wonderful to follow your journey. You are such an inspiration, at least for me, to be able traveling. You've been able just to leave one thing and just travel. And I know you, when my daughter came to England to school, you were that one person that just said, hey, if she needs anything or she needs some horse time, you're here. So I'm always grateful for that. And then we have Eleni from Australia.
Hi everyone, I'm Eleni Argy. I'm originally from the US and from a Greek family, so spent a lot of time of my life in Greece. I migrated to Sydney about 30 years ago now. I run a practice facilitating beautiful equine experiences. It's called She's Like the Wind Equine Experiences, and that's based in Sydney. And so happy to be here in this beautiful group. Thank you, Linda.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for being here. I wanted to start with a quote that I heard the other day. It's from a spoken word artist, but they're really a visionary. His name is Alok. And this quote just really jumped out. I don't know, it said, read me here. And maybe it's just what Inspire Me Forward is all about. But it said, to create the capacity for people to author lives that are magnificent. And that one just jumped right out, man. I thought, that's what we're doing. We are, we're just, by sharing our stories, we're creating capacity in others to live those magnificent lives. And lives are ebb and flow, and they're up and down. There's the good, the bad, the ugly. But when we really dig into that, we can make the magnificent lives in all of it. So let's start with one. We've got some guiding questions for folks today, but we'll see where that takes us. But let's start with one. And I'd love for you to share a moment that you remember in your life that you felt like you were truly and fully and utterly alive. Just those moments of just pure, the only way I can explain it is with my body is just like, this is life. This is it. So, Cal, let's start with you.
Okay, thanks, Linda. What came to me was a moment where I was in Ireland. Actually, I was living in England at the time, and I just left a very difficult and I'd kind of been guided to explore Ireland for a bit, and went swimming one morning and was joined by a seal. And just the connection with that animal in this place that I'd never been to before, and it actually happened to be my birthday as well, and it was just a kind of coming together of magic, really, of having been in this really desperate place and then turning up in this real visceral paradise of being in the water and being connected with this beautiful creature. So that was the moment that came to me when you asked that question.
Where did you feel that?
I think it was all of my body, actually, and I think that was what was so powerful about it, was that there was this real connection within the water of being held by the water. So even before the seal popped up, there was something really special about almost kind of returning to the womb, that kind of just feeling completely held and supported after being in this place of desperation for so long, and then that complete freedom as well. So that really my entire body was almost buzzing and singing with this, and then when this seal popped up and was curious, there was that kind of mirroring that we get with the horses often, but kind of connection of checking each other out and then kind of slowly playing with each other with different movements. And so it was everywhere. It was very visceral.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Eleni, let's go over to you.
Thank you. That's such a beautiful story, Cal. Mine is a little similar, and I wrote an article for Linda recently about it. You know, I'm a survivor of childhood and adolescent trauma, as many of us, you know, have so many traumatic experiences in our lives. And I fled. I lived in America till I was in my mid-20s, and then I literally fled like a wild horse to go as far away as possible. And I ended up in Hawaii, where I was offered, you know, this interaction with this beautiful mare. And I had been dissociated from my body from the trauma for a very long time. And the release that I felt with this animal, you know, really this beautiful creature, you know, it was an essence that I will never, ever forget. And I cried and I laughed and all the emotions kind of surged up. But what was interesting was that vitality of the body started to finally emerge. I started to finally feel. You know, I could feel the wind on my face, and you know, hence She's Like the Wind. The name of my business is. I could suddenly, it was a sense of freedom that allowed me to physically feel. And the beauty of Hawaii and the islands, you know, very similar to your story, Cal, is when I would then go for a swim, I could see the fish. I could literally see and feel the coldness of the water, and it was almost like I was coming alive for the first time in 25 years. And this beautiful mare. You know, you become addicted to that feeling. You know, people say, "Oh, these crazy horsewomen, they have a million horses." You know, what we become addicted to is also the sensations in our body, right? The sensation of aliveness, the sensation of calm, and you know, that was gifted to me by the horses. And then again, you're able to experience life, you know, with this vitality, with an aliveness. You know, our theme and our thread is kind of life, but for me, it's an aliveness. You know, and there's a real expansion within that. You know, that includes all the senses, it includes all the emotions, you know, it includes everything, your past, your present, a vision finally towards, you know, what perhaps is in your future. But yeah, thank you, Cal, for opening that up, and similar kind of threads along the way. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, Taylor.
So when I started thinking about that, I realized that when I think of that moment, it's some of it is longer periods of time. I spent a year traveling in Australia, and I had no real responsibility. And then I thought of like the first time that I did a session with my horse, and there was this profound healing that he offered. And I was just thinking of all these different moments of time when these things would happen for me. And I realized that the theme that came through with all of it, because I also experienced it before going into my surgery, of this moment of clarity and of being completely in my body when I realized that I may not wake up. And all of these things that tie them together is a sense of being completely present in the moment, completely in the now. And so it's not necessarily always a wonderful thing or a positive thing, but when we're truly and absolutely in that present moment and in the current experience, we're not worrying, we're not anxious. Like we might be happy or sad or worried, but it's in the moment, like a true fear, not an anxiety fear.
Yeah.
A true happiness, a true joy in that moment. That for me is when we're alive. And that's, if I think about when do I feel that? I feel that when I'm not with my brain racing in a million different directions, trying to think of the past or the future, but when I'm actually just there and fully experiencing it in the moment. And yeah, all of your senses, just like you had said, all of your senses are awake. You can see, you can smell, you can taste, you can touch. Everything is just electrified because you're so present in that moment. And it's a healthy place to be. It's a very, very healthy place to be.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. That brings up so much just in your answers to that. And yeah, you reminded me of, as you're saying that, Taylor, and I'm like, when's the last time I felt that? I'm like, it was a week ago yesterday when I had a root canal. But it was able to let go of what the specialist was doing and be present, like be fully present and relax into that presence.
Yes.
And it was a lovely experience. Luckily, he was really good, especially, but it was just a really beautiful experience to be able to be so present at a time like that, that you could be worrying, you could be doing all this, but able to come into that into the moment and then, experience that vitality and that clarity and that. So where, I guess my next question, I'm going to jump a few here, but where, we've got life, living, and love. And when I got really thinking about those, it's like, well, they're all really different and we all live, but are we really living? And is that living, is there love in that? So I guess my question that we maybe love to explore a bit is, where do they intersect? Where do they, I think of them like a petals on a flower, but where do they all sort of come together? So I'm gonna let whoever wants to jump in with that one, but yeah, let's just riff on that a bit.
So to me, life happens. Like life is just happening no matter what we say, what we do, what's going on. Life is occurring around us constantly and within us and around us. Living is a conscious decision. Living is something that if we don't make a conscious decision to live, we're the living dead. If we prevent, like if we allow fear to prevent us from doing things, we're not living anymore. If we allow our past traumas to keep us from experiencing being present, we're not living anymore. And it's a choice to make about whether we're going to heal that and get well and embrace. And then love for me is, if you're not living, you can't experience love, because love is an active action of vulnerability. And if you're not exposing yourself to everything, to whatever life has to offer, the good, the bad, and the ugly, you're going to be unable to fully experience what love is in its wholeness, and just have more of a shallow, you might have connection, you might have those things, but that sense of love, of where your whole body lights up, that only comes from real vulnerability and experiencing, I think.
Sounds like it's sort of almost like that spiral that we often talk about.
Yeah.
We have this, then we have this, and then if we reproach it with this. Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I love what you said there, Taylor, and it makes me think of you know, the conscious choice in living, but also that conscious choice in loving, that, you know, in order to be able to live fully and really engage in living, we kind of need to take these radical acts of love. We need to step into love all the time. And I guess when I was thinking about this, and it links into what you were saying again about trauma and how that can prevent us from really truly living. And there's something about the healing within that of loving all parts of ourselves. So all those traumatized parts, all those survivor parts, all those survival mechanisms that we had, the disowned part that we have, bringing those and integrating them and bringing love to all of them so that we can fully engage in life with all of those parts. And just how difficult that can be as well. You know, it's so easy to say it, isn't it? To bring love and to fully consciously live, but actually, particularly when we've had any kind of a trauma history, that's really difficult to do sometimes. But yeah, I guess it's that, like you said, Taylor, that conscious choice, and to live a life that is true to your soul. Rather than, like you said, just letting life happen to you.
Nice, lovely, thank you.
Yeah, so beautiful. Yeah, so I'm really touched by the threads and the commonalities. You know, I mean, I feel we're born into, from, you know, from birth, from the moment, from prior to that, you know, even through our cellular makeup, we're born with a desire for love, connection, relationship, right? We're born with this willfulness and willingness to be on this quest for love, right? And, you know, as Taylor said, it's living is kind of what happens along the way, right? Life is kind of there, and living is, you know, it's not always a choice when you're born in adversity or have, you know, this adversity thrown at you, until you learn to choose. You know, again, you know, Cal beautifully said about, you know, it's this drawing in all the parts of yourself that need love, and it's, you know, it's this turning within, right? Because the quest puts you on this, oh, how can I find love out there, right? But that inner quest is, how can I expand the love to all the parts of myself, right? And then love for life and that vitality that I was talking about actually happens, right? And it's, for me, it's, you know, it's always been about love. Love is the all-encompassing healing that has really put me in a place of center and flow, you know, allowed me to just, you know, not let life happen to me, but allow the flow, allow that release, allow the acceptance, you know. You know, Linda, you mentioned, you know, this, again, kind of threading back to, you know, this release, right? Where you're not resisting what's happening to you. You're actually fully accepting, you know, as Taylor said, fully accepting what's in the present, right? But then we have agency. What happens magically after that, I feel, is then we're empowered and have agency, right? To move, to move things, to move through life with a sense of purpose, right? And love guides us. I mean, I know for me, it's been the guiding force. It's been the guiding force for me to heal, to be in service of others, right? To consciously create a life that is consciously full of love, full of beauty. And it is a conscious choice to see it that way as well. Yeah, again, threading everything that everyone has said prior to me.
So let's stay with you, and we'll sort of work backward or back the other way this time, because you touched on it, and I don't know if you want to add to it, but we'll jump to the sort of the question I had around defining or describing or articulating what is love. You've already really touched on that, so you want to add to that?
Oh, what is love?
Big question. That's a
It's a big question, Linda. Love is purity, right? The purity and innocence and awe of that, as I said, this newborn that's born into the world, seeing everything for the first time, right? It's a purity and a willingness to be alive and to explore, right? With an innocence that's not tainted. And it's that depth of connection and relationship that we see that's offered to us so beautifully by the horses, those of us who are blessed enough to be around horses and all animals and nature, that they do this naturally, right? They love instinctively, and we as humans also have it as an instinct. We just lose it along the way because the beautiful survival mind kicks in and often puts us in conflict with ourselves. But for me, it's really a purity and innocence, that we can find in relationship with self and others and all beings and all creation.
Sure. Awesome. Thank you. Cal, it's
Yeah, I think Eleni, you've really kind of put into words what I was thinking. So what came up for me was this kind of purity of essence, this essence of being, that this is, love can look like many different things, but it's something fundamental that we all have connection to. And it made me think of kind of all beings, or everything being little nodes in this web of life, and that love is really that connecting thread that connects all of us. That it's the blanket that holds us, and it's something that is our life force, that is something about unity, like you were saying, Eleni, that it's the essence of everything. Yeah, really difficult to put it into words.
it is.
Well, but it's an essence, isn't it? It's not tangible, and so the words can be difficult because it's this beautiful essence, and beautiful.
Just before you go, Taylor, I can, sitting here, I can feel it in your words. If that makes sense, when you're all speaking, I can. It's hard to describe, but I can feel it coming through in your body language and in your smiles. I can feel that. So I love that blanket that you said, Cal. That's beautiful. Taylor.
So I think I come at this from a very different point of view. And I think that, so part of it is being on the spectrum. I look at things a little differently. Part of it is 13 years with a cluster B partner. So having to really explore what love is, because part of the healing after escaping a cluster B relationship is understanding that was never love, and that person, because of their disorder, is unable to actually experience love. And so what ends up happening is you start going, well, then what is love? If that 13 years wasn't love, what is love? And so for me, do I believe that my ex felt like he loved me? Yes, I do believe that. But love to me is so much more than a feeling. Love is an action, in the sense of its consistency. Love is there consistently. It doesn't come and go. It doesn't leave when you're in a fight and then return after the fight. It's a consistent thing that exists. Love is being there for someone, being there to hold space for someone, being there. It's an action, again, of it's more than just saying words. It's more than just a feeling. Because if it was just a feeling, then it would be something that every relationship would succeed. Every friendship would last. every family relationship would be amazing, because love would be simple. It would just be a feeling. It would be, and to me, it's so much more than that. It's this action, this choice. This, again, it comes down to choice for me, a choice to be consistent, a choice to be present, a choice to be supportive, a choice to be understanding, a choice to be accepting, a choice to set boundaries and respect boundaries. And all of these things to me are what make up love. And again, this is coming from a place of trauma. It is to me more than just a feeling, because that feeling still abused me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't sit there and say the feeling is love, because now that I've been in a situation where love is what was abusing me,
Mm-hmm.
and love is what made it so I allowed that. I have to say, no, that is a Hollywood idea of love. Love is the actions, the consistency, and all of that occurs. And without that, you just have a fairy tale.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if that's super jaded.
No, no, you. For me, life is about how many perspectives can I have, not one or the other. But I love buckets of perspectives, and you've given us more, and these are all beautiful perspectives, and why not have so many perspectives, so when we're talking to people, we can go, oh yeah, I know that one. Yeah, oh yeah. So thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful. So just to break it up before we go, I want to jump into another one, but what emotion makes you come alive? For me, it's pride. That word for me, that feeling for me brings tears to my eyes, fills my heart, and if it's pride in something my dog has done, if it's pride in myself that oh my goodness, look what I just did, and my children, what they've accomplished, that's for me an emotion that just makes me come alive. So what's an emotion that makes you come alive? I'll let anybody jump in.
I'm happy to jump in. I have two that came to me, and I guess they're really linked together. So this goes back to your threads, Linda, that you beautifully weave in. Inspired, right? You inspire me forward. I mean, for me, when I'm inspired, it brings this incredible excitement, that vitality, that aliveness, right? That then moves me, allows me to make those choices for myself, and to have a purpose, this higher purpose in the world, perhaps to help others. To be inspired to me is really to open my eyes wide, right? Have this, again, panoramic vision like the horses do. And it guides me. It guides me in my quest, in my kind of hero's journey. I often call life this hero's journey. It's always a quest, and there's always challenges that get thrown at us. But if I lose my inspiration, right, then what have I got? What have I got left, right? I lose the love, I lose the vitality, I lose everything. And for me, when I have that, there's such an excitement, and that excitement is what you were talking about, Linda, is you felt the love, you felt it resonating through our smiles. That excitement and vitality also resonates, right? It resonates into everything that you do. And for me, I've been, I'm Greek, so I talk with my hands, and I get very, very excited and excitable, right? And for some people that's too much because it doesn't feel real. But for me, it's just an extension of let's explore what's possible through this level of excitement. Let's explore what's possible, right, in life. Let's explore together in relationship where this can go, right? Nice. How far can we run? How fast can we run? Look at what the horses do. How much can we play, right, together? So yeah, inspired is the one I'm gonna stick to
Okay.
for
That's
today.
awesome. I love that. How fast can we run? How much can we play? I love that. I love that. Cal.
Yeah, so this was really interesting to tap into, and I think that whenever we're fully present with an emotion, then it brings us to our aliveness, like we were saying to start off with, like everyone was saying. But the emotion that kind of came to me was sadness, and it's been a companion of mine for a little while now, and more recently with the loss of a dear friend to suicide.
Mhm.
It really kind of and it's taught me to slow down and really deepen into life and deepen into love, and in that slowing down and deepening, I have felt more alive, I have felt more present, I have felt more connected. And I think I mentioned before, I feel like my heart has just been shattered open many times, and with each shattering, there's that choice again that Taylor was talking about at the beginning. You know, there's that choice to go into fear and to go into avoidance and to try and control and stay away from loss, and there's that choice to know, to go into love, to step into being fully alive and taking risks and actually really connecting. And so it's the sadness that has brought the vivid colors out in every day, the sadness that has brought me more into the moment and helped me to appreciate the moment. So yeah, it's been the sadness recently that's really made me feel most alive. Not always comfortable, not always nice to be in it.
No.
But again, what we're saying about fully truly living means that we sit in those places that are uncomfortable, and that is truly living.
Yes.
Exactly. That's yeah. And it's interesting you say that, because I tried when I started thinking about this and started sort of sitting with it, is it not sort of going towards the, for want of a better word, the fluffy, and that, you know, everything's sunshine and roses. It's not, but how do we live in that? I'm so glad that has come forward. And you know, you say that, Cal, and I was thinking earlier today, I was, you know, sort of thinking myself on some of these questions that we had put forward, was, you know, standing over my father the day before he passed away, with two of the nurses that were just loved him dearly, and just talking with them in his presence and showering him and blanketing him with love. But I wouldn't give that up for the world, because it's so present, and it, in that sadness, in that grief, was love. We found it in there. So I absolutely hear you on that one. That's beautiful. Taylor.
Yeah, and in that moment of dying is the living as well, isn't there? And you know, it's really interesting that you did this to kind of almost balance the grief and dying one, but actually they're the same sides of the same.
And that came, exactly, and that came up on our first one. Yeah, that came up very much on our death, dying, and grief, was being present in that moment. So wow.
No, Cal, you articulated that so well. I was thinking it, and I could not find the words to articulate what you just said there. We're gonna stick with that. That was awesome.
It's perfect. It's absolutely beautiful.
Well, it's the polarities, isn't it? I mean, it's the duality of life. It's those polarities, right? When we sit, as you said beautifully, Cal, in the darkness, that's when you see the light, right? That's where that inspiration comes from, you know? I mean, I work in human trafficking, and it's the stories of the darkest of the dark, right, that are the most inspiring, that bring the most you know, as you've been saying, Taylor, the most choice, you drive it out of you, right? So that you can live, so that you can stay alive, and that you can reach a point of inspiration, right? And it isn't all fluffy, you know, it isn't Hollywood, certainly not, right? But when you allow yourself to sit there, it's all possible, right? It's this duality, and it's never a balance. This is what I've realized in life. I was always trying to, you know, strike this balance and you know, not sway on that seesaw, and it's never possible. You've got to dip, and then you're going to go higher, and you're going to, you know, be the flow, be the water, and that's, and then you do find the balance that way. You do find this beautiful, but you need to sit in those polarities, and they're not easy. It's, you know, you go from the highest of high to the lowest of low. Sometimes those extremes are not easy to navigate, right? Anyway,
Well, and I think very much that it's that the sitting in it, whether it's good or it's bad, when we sit in an emotion and don't try to run from it. And I think that's why with that question, we automatically often go to the positives, because it's easier to sit in the positives. We want to sit in the positives. So when we think of what emotion makes us feel alive, we go to the positives because we're present for those, because we want to be there.
Yeah.
I think that all of the emotions, the anger, the sadness, the grief, everything provides that same opportunity for feeling alive and for feeling present, but only if we choose to sit in it. And it's that again, that for me, it always goes back to choice, that choice of sitting in it and that choice of feeling it, as opposed to trying to stuff it or wash it or get through it as quickly as you can. That is what brings you that feeling of being alive. And if when you actually, Cal, when you said sadness was yours, I realized that was the one emotion that I was like, no, that doesn't do it for me. And I'm like, oh, that means I'm not sitting in that. That means I bypass sadness. Oh, crap. Okay, well, that'll be the next thing that I've got to start working on. Yeah, so it's like so cool, Cal. Thank you. And Eleni as well. Just beautiful.
I love how we inspire each other. Before I go on to the next question, there's something I've found a thread through all these episodes that in conversations we've had so far. And Taylor, I know you and I had spoken when you and I spoke, but what I'm finding is everybody has an anchor in childhood, and it was something that, oh, did we lose Cal? Okay, I'm going to keep going and fill Cal in. Hopefully she'll come right back. Is an anchor in childhood, and I mean that as a memory of something we love to do. So that could be, for me, as an example, I remember being in, I don't know, kindergarten, grade 1, and going to some other school. My mom was watching. I remember just a group of us had scarves and we danced. I don't know why we went. I don't remember what it was for. I remember the feeling of lightness and freedom and all that we've talked about, of just dancing with these scarves. And if I need to feel that, I go back to that. So I'm just wondering about, but like, what is one anchor you might have? Eleni.
I'm happy to jump in. Oh gosh, I love that imagery. So for me, my family luckily is very musical, and as intense as the trauma was within, and as dysfunctional as it was within my family for the first 20 years, as a child, I would naturally revert back to what, you know, we now know is kind of based in polyvagal theory, right? How can we tone the vagus nerve? And, you know, my dad would play acoustic guitar, and I would just sing. And I actually sang my way through life. I sang my way through the trauma, to the point where everyone would say, you know, can you stop her from singing? Like everywhere I went, I just sang. And I danced as well.
Yeah.
It was a big part of my life. So, you know, that movement that you're talking about, Linda, moves the trauma and moves the stuckness through the body, right?
Absolutely.
But singing, I had no idea that the humming and the singing was regulating my nervous system, right? I know now. So now I intentionally draw it in. But then it was my natural response to calm. And so it is my own anchor within my own body. Like when we seek anchors outside of ourselves, you know, they move. You might not find them. When you try to orient to something outside of yourself and it's not there, or a person, right? Or, you know, it's not always that solid thing that's going to bring you into center. And so for me, it was within myself that I had that tool, and I still do. So that, yeah.
Absolutely. Interesting. Yeah. And it's like you say, that movement and that that intrinsic knowing. And it's a consistent knowing that as we, you know, go on in life, that is pushed down. It's been absolutely consistent, and everybody I've spoken to, that's been pushed down, and then we revisit it, we learn it again. Oh, there it is.
It's something to relearn, and it's, you know, it's an exploration of your own self and your own body and your own tools and what you have within, so that then you can make those conscious choices, as Taylor said, so that then you can sit in that sadness and that depth of the trauma, as Cal beautifully mentioned, you know. But, you know, the body, we're born with the tools to survive. We are born, right? This beautiful mind of ours that can get in the way is really that survival tool. And the body knows, you know, the body knows what to do if we don't suppress its natural instinctual nature, right? If you're feeling stuck and you need to get up out of that chair, get up and move your body, right? If I need to sing again, it's connected to feeling disempowered and not having a voice. When you're born into trauma, you don't have a voice, you don't have a choice, right? You feel that sense of entrapment. You can't move, you can't leave the room, right? So, and you can't use your voice, you're terrified. And so for me, it was an exploration of, you know, here I am, I'm here, I'm present. But then what beautifully emerges is the ability to articulate, right? And then to use it to communicate, and to, you know, to guide and inspire and all that. Anyway,
it's beautiful. I love that. So Taylor, what's an anchor, an intrinsic anchor that you remember?
So for me, it's if I think back to the happy little moments as a kid, it's sitting in the garden, running my hands over the flowers, playing with the bugs, playing with the animals. And the main thing that I'm still very much do, and I like to the point where like I'll do it in the middle of winter sometimes, even if it hurts, is barefoot. I need my feet to touch the ground. If I don't have that, if I'm stuck where I haven't been able to get my, like when I worked in the office, like we've been working from home since COVID, but I used to work in the city of Hamilton office buildings, and I'd be slipping my shoes off in the office barefoot on the thing, and the boss would come by. She's like, "You have to have your shoes on." I'm like, "Right." Put them on. She leaves. Shoes come back off. I'm like, "Feet need to touch the ground." So,
absolutely,
very much that.
Love that.
That needing to be grounded.
Connected to the earth. Going back to what Cal was talking about at the very beginning, is just being that connection. Absolutely. I hear you. I got bare feet right now, so I hear you.
Me too.
Thank you. So Cal, I know you slipped, you probably lost your connection there, but so talking about something that we had an anchor as a child, and I just finding that consistently through everybody I've talked to. So what might have anchored me?
Like Taylor, it was a connection to nature. So there's kind of two main things that spring to mind. As a very young child, I used to run to it. There was an oak tree just down our street that I would run to and try, and it kind of had an opening in it. I would try and climb in the oak tree. And then the other would be a connection to animals, which has been throughout my life. And animals were always safer than people. And I mean, we all work with horses and we know how amazing the horse-human connection is, but that, and thinking about co-regulation, you know, I learned to co-regulate through animals. I learned to have relationship with animals that I've then been able to have with people through my relationship with animals. So yeah, it's always been that connection to nature and animals. Yeah.
Excellent. Awesome. Thank you so much. Eleni, you sort of helped me segue into this next one, but you said something about born with the tools to survive.
Yeah.
So I'd love from each of you is like, how do you fit life, living, and love into your daily lives? Like, what are some of your skills that you use? And I'd say coping skills that as we're talking here, I'm like, well, maybe coping's not the word I want to use there anymore. But how do you fit that in? And you know, I would also say, like, bring yourself back to a life of balance, but we've also talked like how, like, it's more so how do we enjoy that flow? Because if we're ebbing and flowing, we're still flowing, even if we're ebbing. So
Well, that's right.
yeah, so maybe what are one or two of your skills, those tools, I guess, let's use the word tools.
We have all the tools within, right? We have the shields to protect us. We have the weapons to go out and fight if we need to. We have it all within, right? So, you know, as you've all beautifully said, you know, I can take off my shoes and feel my connection to the earth. As long as I'm alive, Linda, I have my breath, right? No one can take that away from me. I have the capacity to use my breath to self-regulate. The horses teach us beautifully how to do this. I did not know how to breathe properly until the horses taught me how, right? And this was well into my 30s, right? 25 years of trauma, and then another 30 odd years trying to heal from trauma.
Yeah.
All I did was hold my breath, and not without realizing I was holding my breath, right? So, also that choice, intentional choice, again, this, you know, these theme words that keep coming up, to bring myself into presence. That's a tool. Having an awareness that I'm dissociating, having an awareness that I'm feeling the sadness of trauma or pain, and bringing myself back into the now, that I have the capacity to do that, right? It's within me. Right. And nowadays, I'm older and wiser, I don't look outside of myself as much as I used to. Right. Who can give me the love? Or where is that thing that can fill me right now? All those risk-taking behaviors and things that would fill my gaps, right, that were outside of myself. I now look within, and the animals and nature teach us this beautifully. Right. We have all the skills and all the tools within. I have my voice. I have the capacity to use my voice, right? Yeah. To articulate, to communicate, to achieve my purpose, whatever that is for me, my higher purpose, right? You know, we have so many tools within the animals. Again, when I'm lost, I look to the animals. What are they teaching me? They are teaching me true respect, connection, playfulness, presence, you know, all of that stuff. But we have it all within as well. We have it all.
Brilliant. Thank you. I love that. You know, you don't look outside yourself as much as you used to. Now you know to look within. That's beautiful. I love that. I love that. Taylor.
So if you had asked me this question a month and a half ago,
very different.
my answer would have been, I'm happy. I'm in a healthy relationship. I love myself. I love where I'm at. I love my animals. I surround myself with people who fill me up, and that's enough. Post-surgery, I actually, and I apologize, I'm going to have a hard time with this one. I'm not okay right now. And all of the tools that I use to get through my PTSD and to get through my trauma are not working right now at all.
Mm.
I'm aware of them. I'm trying, and it's not happening. So for myself, I'm reaching out to a therapist whose
Mhm.
principles align with how I like to heal.
Mhm.
And so I'm going to give that a go and see if she can help me sort out some of what's going on inside myself.
Mhm.
But when you said go to the animals, it made me realize. So one of the training methods people use with horses that can really damage a horse is where they tie a horse down.
Mhm.
They force the horse to lay down.
Mhm.
The Heartland was doing it all the time, saying,
Mhm.
"Isn't this beautiful thing?" Because then the horse learns to trust you and it gets up. And it's like, no, what you've actually done is taken an animal and told it it's dead, that the predator is going to eat it and it needs to give up.
Mhm.
And what ends up happening is, yes, the horse gets up and it's obedient now, and it does as it's told, not because it's connected and trusts you, but because it's dead.
Mhm.
It thinks it's dead, so it's no longer responding the way it should, because there's no point, because it's dead.
Mhm.
And what I realized is that the surgery did to me what happened to those horses.
Mhm.
And so I have rehabilitated a lot of horses that had that done to them,
Mhm.
and I've helped them wake up. And it's messy. And those horses tend to be dangerous for a while, because when they went to sleep, they were fighting for their life.
Mhm.
So when they woke up, they started fighting for their life.
Yeah.
And I I know, because they can do it, I can do it. But I also know that it's going to be messy, and I apologize for this,
Oh,
because
no.
very raw for me right now.
Mhm.
But Eleni, when you said that the animals show us, it made me go, well, how? And then I went, oh, that's how. Okay, that's what I need to do. So thank you
Mhm.
again. This has been you guys have been very helpful for me today. I
It's a
shouldn't have put
reason.
mascara on today.
All right. There's a reason we all came together. Oh my goodness. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for your vulnerability, Taylor. Cal.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Taylor, for sharing that, and for being so open in your vulnerability with us. So I think when I thought about this question about how do I kind of fit these into everyday life, what, how we manage, and there was something around that messiness, that actually we often are led to believe that somehow, that if we have all these tools, that our life looks wonderful, and that we just sail through whatever difficulties we have. And there's a whole wellness industry that would have us believe that. And like you were saying, Taylor, actually life's messy and hard and rough and full of tears and screaming and crying, and that's part of how we survive it, is just by letting us do that. And I nearly come today because I have a little felt earlier about what do I bring this, and I'm so glad that I did, because that's what we'll bring. We bring all those parts of ourselves. We bring the traumatized parts. We bring parts that know how to handle this. And I think every moment we have that opportunity to bring those parts, to really integrate it in our lives. As part of that, there's some really important about tuning into the magic of the ordinary as well, and just like the little moments of noticing, the light in the water, or the wind on your face, or sad partner or the whisker of your cat, whatever it is, that even within pain is still magic of the ordinary. There's still, the tear on your cheek, the feel of, so there's something about being able to tune into that and make that conscious decision to keep bringing love to life, bringing love to yourself, no matter where you're at. That I'm not going to step into fear here. I might be feeling fear and I might be in fear because that's where I am, but I still bring love to that fear. So,
Yeah.
and that it's always a work in progress. It's just never. It doesn't matter how many bills you've got, there's still days when it's just shit. Do you know? And it's just horrible and it's awful and you don't know how you're going to manage it. And I think spaces like this, safe spaces like this, Linda, and I really want to thank you for creating this space for people where we share. Actually, sometimes it is just share, but that's the heart of living fully. So.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And I that's where like I said earlier, like I thought this can go towards the light and fluffy and wonderful. And then I just sort of, I found at one point I was just sort of taking this, when I sat with it, I went, no, it is messy and it's shit sometimes, and we can still bring love to that. And that's beautiful. I'm cognizant of our times, and I know I was going to ask you each for some nuggets of wisdom, but this whole thing has been nuggets of wisdom. So before we do sort of a call to action, I'd love to ask each of you is what resonated, like from what we've talked about, what is something that sort of a nugget that from somebody else that sort of jumped out for you and went, your heart went, yes, other than everything. But something that your heart just went, oh, yeah, me too. So I'd love to hear. Just one.
So much that how can you pick one? Oh gosh, I mean, Taylor, your vulnerability, thank you firstly, and all of you, Cal, as well. Sitting in it is really hard, right? And it is very messy, and there is that's where the beauty is, right? Where does the lotus grow? In the mud, right? And so so many nuggets. Oh my goodness, Linda, I cannot pick one, but just the beautiful connection and opportunity really to open this up for so many diverse people to bring forward, their heart really. And, as you said, Cal, your internet was breaking up a little bit there, but, there's this magical essence in the ordinary, right? We look for this magic, as I said, outside of ourselves and in the bigness and in those, the beautiful, la, 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 the beautiful stuff, the Hollywood, as Taylor said. But, the whole essence of growth is through the trauma, right? It's that concept of, as Matt Licata beautifully says, that archetype, that concept of the wounded healer, right? We've got to go through it. You've got to sit in that mud. But, for me, I don't sit in it too long. I know when to have the choice to drag myself out, to go, you know what? I've sat in this crap long enough. Now is my moment of bringing out, again, like I said, those survival tools, bringing out what I know. And when I don't know, look to nature. The animals will tell us they are survivors. Wow, they're built to survive. And we have it too. So thank you, Linda. So beautifully inspired by everyone. I did have a quote. I do have a quote that I love from me, and I am going to share this. He says, "What is the heart? Right? It is not human and it is not ordinary. I call it you."
And who says that?
Rumi.
Oh, it's a Rumi quote. Oh, I love that. It is you.
And I just wanted to offer that for us.
I love
all.
it. Thank you. Thank you. Taylor. I know one thing is hard.
I think for myself today, it's that very personal thing of being like, oh, I can see how I can get out of this now. And that's
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you. Cal.
So I'm gonna take two things. So what's been really powerful for me, nuggets for me, was Taylor being visible in your vulnerability, and in honor, and also the look of support you're asking for help, and then about finding your voice and using your voice. And I think as trauma survivors, we often think we have to do it on our own. We often are silent. We often hide in as adults, or as they will hide their vulnerabilities. And I think for me, some really special actually and share. We are seen, we are heard, higher than that's power and collective power of us human beings.
Excellent. So Cal, I'm going to ask that maybe if you can jot some notes down on that, because your internet was going in and out a bit. So if you can jot some notes down on what you just said, then I'll make sure we get that in a summary too. So what I usually ask of our guests is to offer a call to action to our listeners, something that we can do in the next 24 hours or the next little while. Is what can we do to bring life, living, and love? Like, just bring it out and bring it up for us. So Taylor, let's start with you there.
Choose life. Choose to live. If for the next 24 hours, just recognize the places where you are, because I find that when we're not choosing to live, it's often in our blind spot. We don't realize we're not choosing. We don't realize we have a choice. And so really sit with yourself and look at what your choices are, even if you thought that it wasn't a choice. Because unless you're literally locked in a room without a key, you have a choice on what you do, and it's a scary choice, but you have a choice. That's my action. Really reflect what your choices are and choose to live.
I love it. I love it. That's beautiful. Thank you. Eleni.
What came up for me is really, being soft and gentle with yourself, right? We all have trauma. We all have some pain, grief, right? And noticing where you're at, but being really holding that really lightly and gently. Hold your own heart really, carefully. It can be fragile, right? Really just be soft and gentle with yourselves, everyone. For me too.
That's beautiful.
Reminded
I love
myself.
Yes. As we speak the words, we're like, oh yeah.
As you speak the words, it's again a reflection of what
it's intrinsic. Exactly. That's lovely. Thank you. Cal.
I think find ways to connect to nature. So whatever that might be, looking the window or getting out in nature or spending time with a pot plant beside you, or whatever that is, but and that connection, just exploring it's like listen action to whatever it is in nature, but also your own wisdom. So
Awesome. Oh, I lost her. Must be
Gone.
it's getting to the evening and getting to nighttime over there. So, so I think with that, where our time is up. You know, two words come to mind at our conversations, and you beautiful women, is wise sages. That's the word that comes to mind for me at this moment. Like, I'm just almost at a loss for words, which is odd. But I just need to sit with all of this. I need to sit with it. And I hope you, as our viewers and our listeners, just take this all in and just sit with it and absorb it and absorb that love that is here and that is available and is within all of us. Thank you, ladies, so much for being here with me and answering the call to join me on this panel discussion. I'm shocked how close it was to our other one. I'm not shocked. No, I think I sort of knew, but how close it was, our death, dying, and grief one, and life, living, in love. I could put them in the same container. They were so very close and gives us so many nuggets to live. I'd love to finish with another quote I heard the other day. It was by a gentleman called Benjamin Perry, and he wrote a book called Cry Baby. And it was Cry, Baby. And it was all about crying, but there was this one really struck me, and it was the ability to feel fully human is not a luxury. We don't all get it. We don't all have that opportunity. And so we need to take that opportunity to live and feel fully human. And I thought maybe that's just a great one to end on. Thank you all so much for being here. I don't know, does anybody have any closing words? Hand it back to anybody.
Thank you so much. Appreciation for you, Linda. And when you mentioned wise sages, again, reflection of self. I'm going to give that one right back to you, beautiful Linda. Thank you, lovely ladies. It's been such an honor to be in your presence with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. So for our viewers or listeners, thank you all for listening and being here. And you can join me again on Thursday for episode 15, which is with George Brown Ice from Colorado. And George has gone from an aerospace career, an engineering career, to working with beautiful work with wild Mustangs. I know, Eleni, you've had an opportunity to go and meet George, and I'm so looking forward to hearing his wisdom and hearing his journey from one to the other, which are almost polar opposites. So, or maybe they're not. So thank you all for being here. And I hope you all have a fully living and vibrant evening, day. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you.